What are we being judged on during the maneuvers? They have a section for control and a section for observations. We'll go through each maneuver individually, starting with the easiest, the reverse 2 car lengths on the right.
Then I'd like you to pull up on the right please, for your maneuver.
On a straight road, we'd be looking to get nice and parallel to the curb on the right, parking in a legal place of course. On a bendy road such as this, it's a little more difficult. We just look to get fairly close to the curb and worry about the reversing when it comes to it.
Alright, I'd now like you to reverse for 2 car lengths, keeping reasonably close to the curb on the right please. When you're ready.
We need all-round observations just before reversing. Missing these would be at least a driving fault. If we then moved off and affected or endangered other road users without checking, this would then be a major fault. While reversing, if we don't notice other road users or hazards, or only use our mirrors without checking blind spots, this will also be marked. We get off to a shaky start by not quite having the clutch at the biting point to reverse up the hill. And now also stalling the engine. But wait, there's far worse to come. The fault for control won't be marked until the end of the maneuver in case it needs to be upgraded, as we'll see shortly. Before moving off again we should have checked all mirrors, and both shoulders. What should we do with the car ahead approaching?
Just stop a moment for this car please. Okay, continue, when it's safe.
We were paying too much attention to the right-hand mirror, and the curb. We did notice the white car, but maybe didn't realize they were having trouble getting around us, due to them having to wait for oncoming traffic. If any vehicle approaches us on our side of the road, when they get close we must stop, or at least keep fairly still. We would only need to stop for vehicles on the other side of the road if it looks like they are parking up near us, pulling into a driveway close by, or navigating other parked vehicles.
That's far enough, thanks. And drive on when you're ready.
So, we needed to remain a stationary hazard for the white car, rather than a moving hazard. Other faults for control on this maneuver could be touching the curb, a minor, or mounting the curb, a major. Having the back of the car come too far away from the curb, and toward the middle of the road, at any point while reversing. For the forward park into a bay we must position correctly on approach, and only start turning into the bay if we aren't going to hinder oncoming traffic.
Then, could you drive forward into any bay on the left or the right please, finishing within any marked bay of your choice?
We should signal if there's anyone that will benefit, particularly vehicles behind us. We'll probably have plenty of choices of bays we can drive into, but if we did have to park next to another vehicle, we must do so without looking like we are going to hit it. If it's not within the lines, reversing to make an adjustment is allowed. However, effective observation should be made before attempting to reverse back out, and the candidate doesn't do so. Checking behind, over the shoulder would be necessary here. We keep steering too much to the right too early and still end up stuck on the line on the right. If it looks close as to whether the car is within the space, the examiner may ask you to turn off the engine so that they can check outside the car. On closer inspection, the back right wheel is on the line, which would be a minor fault, but the front right wheel is a couple of inches outside of the line, so, unfortunately is marked as a serious fault. This information will not be disclosed to the candidate until the end of the test.
Okay, reverse out, and head for the exit please.
We need all-round observations before reversing out. And before driving on. For the reverse bay park, the same things to look out for in terms of observations, at the beginning, during the reverse and before driving on. Stop for any vehicles or pedestrians approaching close by. Don't be surprised if we are asked to do the reverse park right at the beginning of the test. Why not try this method, sometimes called the 45-degree method, where we get close to the space we want to reverse into, then steer away from it, giving us a more favorable angle to reverse into the bay. For accuracy, the same rules as the forward park apply. We must finish with all four wheels within a marked bay. It doesn't matter if we are a bit close to one side, or a bit diagonal. A wheel on the line, minor fault. A wheel over the line, major fault. We can move forward once, maybe twice to correct ourselves. We don't have to say which bay we are aiming for. It doesn't matter if we cut over lines while reversing, as long as we don't look like we are going to hit another vehicle. For the parallel park, which the examiner will just call a reverse park, we again need all-round observations at the beginning and during the maneuver. We can expect faults for observation if we don't notice or react to other vehicles or pedestrians. Major faults for control would be reversing too quickly, finishing far more than a drain's width from the curb, looking like we are going to hit a stationary vehicle, or mounting the pavement, even if it's just a low curb. It would only be a minor fault if we just touched the curb, rather than mount it. A few bits and pieces to complete the sheet. Pedestrian crossings. We should give way if someone is at the edge of a zebra crossing, waiting to cross, and we must give way if they are already on the crossing, and continue to give way until they have fully left the crossing. If there are two separate crossings, such as this one, the white car and the van are able to continue, while the green car has to wait until their crossing is clear. So, common faults would be, not giving way when we should, or must. Not waiting until the crossing is clear to proceed. Approaching a crossing too fast where the view isn't good. Excessive acceleration on the approach or going through a crossing. And stopping on the crossing, for instance, in heavy traffic. Awareness planning could be not keeping junctions or entrances clear when we are in heavy traffic. With the entrance on the left, we should leave it clear, and have stopped too close to the red car, which could be a problem if someone wanted to turn out of there. Our lights have only just gone red, so we could be blocking for a while. Now a silver van appears from the entrance, waiting to turn out. It looks like it is going the same way as us, so we haven't inconvenienced it too much because the traffic lights are red where we're going, so a minor fault for lack of awareness and planning for that feasible eventuality. If the van wanted to go the other way, where we'd just come from, then it would have more likely been a serious fault, as it was a while between the van appearing and the lights changing. Another one could be when we mistakenly wait behind vehicles we think are queuing, but are in fact just parked. Coming up, we slow down for the cars ahead, thinking they are queued at the traffic lights, but they are parked, the clues being they are all the way over to the curb, and the lights ahead have been green a while with no cars ahead of these few, so it's unlikely there would be an actual queue. We realize we should move around just in time, probably just a couple of seconds before the examiner would have intervened and asked us to move on, which then would have become serious. Marked as hesitation, but could just as easily be marked for awareness planning. Another one could be failing to anticipate people crossing the road, but we are ready for it in this clip. Clearance is usually getting too close to parked cars as we go past. If the examiner has to go to steer us away from the parked cars, then it will very likely be a major fault, instead of a minor. Clearance could also be if we don't give enough room to moving obstacles as we pass them. Following distance is just following other vehicles too closely. We should allow more distance for adverse weather conditions, as per the highway code. If we successfully emergency brake when following another vehicle, we could still get a fault for following distance if that's the main reason we had to emergency brake in the first place. Talking of which, the last section, the emergency stop, or controlled stop, as it's referred to here. Faults could be if we don't react quickly to the instruction to stop. If we don't brake very hard. If we put the clutch down too early and lose braking effectiveness. Putting the clutch down too late, and stalling, though this would only be serious if we jolted forward a lot while stalling. Removing a hand from the steering wheel before coming to a complete stop. Forgetting to secure the car, and rolling back or forward before moving off. Forgetting to check blind spots before moving off, although this could be marked under the move off section instead. Eco-driving isn't something we can fail for, but we may be advised at the end if we were over-revving the engine or braking heavily. Here's a video with eco-driving tips in the top right. ETA is when the examiner has to take action, either with the controls, or verbally to get us to avoid an accident. If this happens, in almost every single circumstance we'd fail, so we need this section to be kept clear. This section is for pulling away from the side of the road. AS is for angled start, from behind a parked car, where we are tested on our control with the pedals and the steering moving away, as well as the observations of course. HSDS, we will either be tested on our control moving away on a hill start, or if there aren't many hills on the route, we will be asked to pull over in a specific, designated place, like this.
Pull up on the left, after this silver car please, just by the lamppost. And drive on when you're ready.
And normal stops. Twice more we'll be asked to pull over in a safe place, we just have to avoid parking somewhere illegal, like on double yellow lines, or inconvenient, like over someone's driveway, unless the examiner says it's okay. So, that's it for this series, we finally covered everything on the test report. If you missed an episode, you can watch from the playlist here on the left. To not miss the next series of videos coming up on the most difficult junctions on the Northampton driving test, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching.